Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Schwing if you don't already know. Today's video is going to be about how I overcame binge eating disorder. This is a very highly requested video. It was definitely one of the biggest things that has contributed to my weight loss. I'm down about 70 pounds. I thought that I would make this video to help you guys out. I am not a professional. Everybody's body is different. I'm just talking about my experience and what worked for me. First thing, what is binge eating disorder? Doctors are going to look at a few things. You're eating much more rapidly than normal, eating until uncomfortably full, eating large amounts of food when you're not even hungry, eating alone due to feelings of embarrassment or shame, and feelings of guilt or disgust with oneself. Obviously, there are more factors to binge eating disorder, but those are some of the main ones that professionals look at. Binge eating disorder is basically the uncontrolled intake of large amounts of food and then feeling shame or guilt afterwards, and it's like a repeated cycle, basically what it is. When trying to overcome binge eating disorder, it's important to find out why you are binge eating. You could be stressed, you could be depressed, you could be anxious, you could be bored, you might not have time to have a proper eating schedule. A lot of things can trigger someone to binge eat, but the ultimate trigger of binge eating is just the feeling of wanting to binge eat, if that makes sense. Like the actual feeling in your mind being like, oh, I should really binge right now, or oh, I want to binge right now. That thought is the biggest trigger. Everybody feels stressed sometimes, everybody is sad sometimes, everybody's busy, everybody is bored, but only some people respond to those feelings with binge eating, not everyone. Otherwise, it wouldn't be called a disorder. Those kind of feelings can cause a person to binge eat. So finding a way to not be triggered by those things is super, super important. First thing I'm gonna do is talk about my binge eating habits and my binge eating disorder and what my experience was like before I get into the rest of it. When I developed binge eating disorder, I was so depressed. I was at the lowest of my life. I basically didn't get out of bed unless it was to eat. It's pretty sad. I would wake up in the morning, I would order McDonald's for breakfast, and I would go back to sleep, take a nap. I'd wake up for lunch and have KFC, and then I'd go take another nap or just lay in bed and rot, and then I would order Papa John's or whatever for dinner. I had this crazy cycle of eating a ton, and I wasn't just getting a meal. I would get multiple meals and I would eat it every single time. I was eating 8 meals a day, and I would just eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. I'd feel seriously so sick afterwards, but I still wanted more food. I would just keep eating. I didn't even need to be hungry. I didn't even need to be anything. I just wanted to eat. That's all I wanted to do was just eat. And it was so much bad food that I was putting into my body. And I did this for a period of time, and I gained a lot of weight during that time. I was obsessed with food delivery apps. It was so easy. You just go onto your phone, pick out whatever food you could ever want. And of course I wasn't ordering the healthy stuff. It was so easily accessible, and it made it very, very easy for my binge eating disorder to get completely out of control. If I went to the grocery store, I was buying chips, cookies, candy, desserts, processed foods, none of it was healthy. When I would buy groceries, they did not last long at all. I would buy $200 worth of groceries and they'd be gone in a day and a half, it seemed. I would clear a whole family-sized bag of Doritos in one sitting. I did not feel good. I would feel so sick. I just couldn't stop. It was this thing in my head that was telling me this you can't stop. I was just never going to be satisfied. Then I would have completely opposite days where I wouldn't eat absolutely anything all day, and then night comes and I would eat everything, basically starving myself throughout the day. I'm just oh, I'm doing so good. I barely ate anything today, which is such a toxic mindset. You need to eat. And I'd be hungry, obviously, and then night would come and I would eat literally everything in sight. Another thing that I would do is I would eat healthy throughout the day, and then I have one bad food, a cookie or something, and I'm I already messed up my day of healthy eating. I might as well just eat whatever I want. So I'd have one cookie and it would turn into a whole pack of cookies. I would just eat one bad thing and my brain would be time to eat it all. So how in the world did I stop doing that? Well, I started the program called Drop It Now. It is incredibly strict. I don't expect most people to be able to go from that and then just go into a diet program. I was feeling so sick of feeling sick and hating myself that I just decided, I'm just oh my gosh, this needs to stop. I just told myself, no, this needs to end. It doesn't matter if you're doing a diet program or not. I still decided to just stop. And like I said in the beginning, the main trigger of binge eating disorder is the thought of binging. So if you can not cave into that thought or that temptation, and you can continuously do that and be consistent in saying no to those thoughts in your head, you will get out of it. I mean, at least I did. Again, I'm not a professional, but this is what I did, okay? Because I was consistent in the healthier eating habits and saying no to the binge eating thoughts, I formed that into a habit. What I had done when I was in the peak of my binge eating disorder is that I continued the habit. I fed the habit. I fed the temptation and the cravings and the thoughts in my head saying that I wanted to binge, and I just caved in. Very first day that I decided I'm no longer going to binge was the pivotal moment of overcoming the binge eating disorder. The first day is always the hardest. Everybody always says like the decision to go to the gym is harder than going to the gym. The decision to stop binge eating is harder than stopping binge eating because you're so used to having this mindset and doing it because it's routine, it's habit, it's what you're used to. Consistency is key with everything. I was consistent with my binge eating and that's why I was doing it. So I decided no more binge eating. And I was consistent in saying no to binge eating, and that formed habit. I simply just went no. And that is so much easier said than done because it is so hard. I was stuck in this trap for so long, but like once you just decide like, no, I'm not doing that anymore, and you consistently say no, you will do it. With any addiction, you just have to say no, and you just have to keep doing it over and over and over and over again. And pretty soon you're not even gonna feel like you're saying no. You're gonna feel like this is normal. Another thing that helped me stay consistent to not binge was to go to the gym. You bust your butt for however long. You don't wanna go back home and just like completely ruin all the effort you put in. You don't want to throw away all the hard work that you just did because your mind is telling you to do that. If you're finding that you cannot kick the urge to binge, stop buying the foods that you binge on and find a healthier replacement. I know I've said this in a couple videos before, and I have a shorts where I have some of my favorite replacement snacks that I like to eat when I'm wanting those bad foods. There is a substitute for everything nowadays, but because I'm buying healthier versions of the unhealthy food, it's not the end of the world that I'm eating a ton of it, you know? For example, I love fruit gushers. I have convinced myself that a grape is the equivalent to a fruit gusher, and I can eat a pound of those for barely anything, and they're good for me. Stop buying the things that you binge on. You owe it to yourself to not treat your body badly, you know, especially when you're trying to kick something. Are you trying to be in the video? You're so cute. It's okay to have bad food here and there, but when you're binging on it, that's not good. Like, you can have pizza, you can have donuts, you can have cake, but you shouldn't have them all the time, you know? If you don't eat those foods all the time, when you do have them, it actually feels like a treat. When you have binge eating disorder and that's what you're eating all the time, the treats don't feel like treats. The treats just feel like regular food. So turn those treats back into treats, and it'll be more rewarding when you eat it anyway, because you don't get it all the time. It's like a little reward. The only thing that hurts worse than the stomach ache after binging is the guilt you feel. The one thing that really keeps me going into not binge is, yes, eating all those foods in the moment, it feels so good, and like you like scratch that itch that you need to like binge. The feeling of not caving in feels so much better because yeah, you're eating, feels great, your serotonin's going, you have all this yummy food. That only lasts for as long as there's food on your plate. When you say no to a binge, that feeling lasts so much longer than the food on your plate, and you're so proud of yourself. And that feeling, after you do that a few times, that feeling is gonna motivate you to stop binging. Because you're gonna be like, oh, do I wanna eat an entire pizza and 3 large McDonald's fries and feel good for a little bit and then feel like absolute trash later? Or do I want to feel good that I just didn't do it? And you get no stomach ache too. It's like you feel better mentally and physically. It's a hard thing to do, and it's so much easier said than done. But you just have to tell your brain no. And you do that so many times, it'll become second nature. And before you know it, you will get away from binge eating disorder. You can totally do it. You can totally do it. I did it. And I'm so happy and I'm so proud of myself. And I want you to feel the same thing that I'm feeling. Keep yourself disciplined and stay consistent, and you'll be good. I hope this was helpful for you guys. I believe in you. You can do it. Until next time. See you guys.